Penn State's hopes of a victory repeatedly hit the ground in the horseshoe.
When you have the lack of success that we had on third down, it's hard to get anything going.
0 third down conversions in the first 15 attempts leads to frustration and another setback in Columbus. Ohio native Drew Aller absorbs his first loss as a starter. His emotions come out in a post-game interview as he makes the message clear going forward.
This is a lesson for us, and we have to learn from it because, I never want to feel like this again.
Let's go, Penn State! And they come from near and very, very far. Why this Nittany Lions fan travels all the way from Brazil to make it for kickoff. It's time for Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski, alongside former Nittany Lions coaches Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley, who is joining us from Pittsburgh this week. Coming up short in Columbus, it's a common tale for any opponent. For the Nittany Lions, it's not just the result, it's the way it happens. You have to learn from losses. So, what did you guys find out about the 2023 team after watching this 20-12 setback?
I think it's a really good defensive football team. Did some really good things in the special teams to keep Ohio State in the long field. Just got to get to that point where the big plays start to come on offense. I think that's the biggest challenge for them.
You know it was going to be a one-score game one way or another. Both teams have tremendous defenses, and I thought that toward the end of the game there, that if they would have, punted the ball and played the field position game, I think it might have helped them in the end.
We will dive a little deeper into the Ohio State defeat, tell you why the majority of the game plays out like an old-school Big Ten battle, and discuss a possible wrinkle for future consideration in our opening drive. All right, so let's get to it. Old-school Big Ten football, Jay. A lot of these things look familiar from the past.
No doubt. This looked like a Jim Tressel-type Ohio State team, just being careful with the football. Field position was a big deal. And again, everybody forgets, in the middle of the fourth quarter, it's a one-score game.
Well, it takes everyone to step up and win a game you might not be favored to win. After the game, and then again earlier this week, Coach was asked about his overall record against Ohio State and other top 10 opponents during his 10 years as head coach at Penn State.
I think it's more than fair to judge me and my staff for all of it, right? I mean, that's what it's about. The good, the bad, the consistency, the lack of success in that game, all of it.
At this point, Michigan is the only ranked team left on the schedule.
Well, I think you look at Saturday, the defense played really, really well. And I think we all anticipated that going into the game, there's going to be a defensive battle. The offense kept Ohio State on a long field. Defense made some things happen. And then when that turnover happened, that was Penn State's, that was the opening of the door for them to get the lead. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Anytime you hold a team to 79 yards rushing and 1.9 per rush attempt, how much better does it get than that? I thought that the defense played a fantastic football game.
Defensively, these guys know it's a collective effort, and it just wasn't enough.
You say the gap is like, people doing their job and certain people doing their job effectively and, not making mistakes, just how they did in some plays we did. And, it's just all about who does their job the longest and the most efficiently.
A lot of leaders on that defensive side of the ball. They're going to regroup and get ready for Indiana. But one of the interesting things about this particular matchup with the Buckeyes, both QBs really not known for their mobility, and that's been a huge part of recent games between the two.
No question about it. And again, we've talked about this all off season. When you make the move to Drew Aller, you're going to have defensive coordinators now. All the coverage schemes are in the package. The minute you put a mobile guy in there, it takes some things out. So Penn State's going to have to adjust to some of those things, make some adjustments in terms of offensively. But I think they can. They've got the talent to do it.
They can be a real headache, these mobile QBs, Tom.
If you have a quarterback that can't really run, then you can just pressure with 4 people, keep good rush lanes, and you can do a lot of exotic coverages back in the secondary to help yourself. When you have a quarterback that can run, now it's like, do I take a chance? Does the outside guy rush inside, take a chance, then he gets outside? It's having a guy that can run at quarterback causes a lot of big-time problems for the defense.
Coach Franklin said there's always a package for Bo Perbola in the game plan. Their lack of success on third down contributed to all of the decisions on personnel and play calling. As for Drew Aller, he was visibly upset after the game, but collected himself to make sure the message is clear moving forward.
This is a lesson for us, and we have to learn from it because, I mean, I never want to feel like this again. I know a lot of guys in the locker room feel the same way about it. So we just have to learn from this and, you know, correct everything that we need to correct, put it behind us, and just keep moving forward.
And we'll see if he channels the emotion into progress and growth before they take on Michigan in a few weeks. Andrew Callista gets the field level view of the game in Columbus, and you know, he can be a live wire at times. He gives a take on the pulse of the fan base after another setback in the Horseshoe.
It is truly hard to find something interesting to talk about. There was nothing against Ohio State except a Penn State fan named Greg Ashman who flew from Brazil to see the game. That's right, 14 hours. He believed in his Lions. And you know, how about we start there?
Let's go, Penn State! Let's go! Let's go!
It's all fun and games before kickoff, but another big game on the Penn State schedule, another failure. It's Groundhog Day. Penn State's offensive game plan was to fire around the pigskin, dropping dimes. The problem, no tellers at wideout to cash them in. Two big runs, throw the ball. 3rd and 1, throw the ball. Shotgun, throw the ball. Let's just look at the faces in the stands of the blue and white faithful. Shock and awe, and not the good kind. Albert Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting different results. For Penn State fans that did believe, they're like Pavlov's dog, salivating at the hype that the elite tier is near. Their reactions said it all. The result should have been the expectation. And with 3 weeks to prepare for this game, it is hard to disagree with the fans who are, let's just say, displeased. Is this an overreaction? Absolutely. But that is what sports is. One thing cures this feeling for the Nittany Nation. Go out and beat Michigan. Not play them close and say just a few breaks here and there. Go out with a plan, execute, and win at home.
All right, thanks, Andrew. We like it when the players are emotional. Fans are the same way after a big game. Still to come, our scouting report. Need to put the Buckeyes in the rearview mirror and focus on the Hoosiers. Our coaches explain how Indiana's special teams could be a deciding factor against Penn State. More Nittany Game Week after this.
Opening Drive is sponsored by your local Ford store. Visit buyfordnow.com today.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Feels like it's worse than one loss in the standings, but that's what the Ohio State setback is, just one loss. Got to leave it in Columbus and focus to get back on track. Best way to do that is start fast at home against Indiana. Jay, what kind of resistance can the Nittany Lions expect from the Hoosiers in Beaver Stadium?
Not a lot, but let's take a look at what Indiana does. And Todd, you make a great point. Everybody wants to talk about Michigan. You got to get past Indiana and Maryland first. It starts this week. Let's look at Indiana's offense first. Points per game. In all these categories, they're 100th in the country or worse. And keep in mind, there's only 130 teams, so that's not good. So let's take a look at what they do offensively. Number one, you want to take an eye on who's going to play quarterback. Number 12, Jalen Lucas, keep an eye on him. And they do have good receivers. They're just not consistent enough in the pass game. If 15 is at quarterback, you expect to see different things defensively because he does move and is able to make things happen. Stay in your lanes and stay in coverage, and you'll see what happens on this play when the outside rusher loses contain. Quarterback gets outside. Guys from the secondary come up to try and play him and keep him, and there's a touchdown in behind. Now, let's talk about the next part. We talked about number 12, Jalen Lucas. He's a 5'9" speedster out of Louisiana. They use him all over the place. Even though he's a running back, he's their third leading receiver. And what you're going to see is here is a triple kind of feel here. They're going to read him, read this guy, and if they get, react to how they read this and then throw the ball out or run it with the quarterback or hand it off. Again, they bring him in motion, put some pressure on the defense. They take away the give, they take away the receiver, and again, that's the mobility we talked about at quarterback. Now, the other thing you're going to see with number 12, again, with the motion, they're going to use him essentially as an extra receiver. He puts speed and stress on the defense with the motion because it forces you to adjust on the move, and you see what happens here. He comes out, they make an adjustment, and because they're worried about him on the outside, it opens up the inside for that post route in there. Now, let's take a look at them defensively. Solid against the pass, 23rd in the country. You got 106 in the rushing, so look for Penn State to try and run the ball and look for them to score some points because they're not very good at preventing that. Let's take a look at what they do defensively. Keep your eye on the middle linebacker, Casey. Defensive tackle Andre Carter can play, and the safety Philip Dunn was very active, 3 interceptions. Why is that? Because they're going to force your wide receivers to make plays. That's been a theme all year against Penn State. Penn State's offense is forcing them. They're going to funnel everything inside to make the middle linebacker and the safeties their leading tacklers. Let's take a look at how they do that here in the video. Again, you're going to see they keep wide contained with their ends. The outside guys are there, and now they come up inside, and there's the safety making the contact right about a yard or 2 deep. Now, third downs, they're pretty good defensively on third downs because they're very aggressive in blitz. Tom Allen, their head coach, has a defensive background, likes to blitz, get after it. Here they're going to come after Michigan with no safeties, 0 coverage, and they get the J.J. McCarthy on this one, which not a lot of people have done. But they get in there, they force them outside, a lot of pressure, and they make sure that you don't have time to throw the ball. Now, special teams is the third phase of the game, and that's been a mixed bag for them. Net punting, they're 13th in the Big Ten. Their kick returner, Lucas, we've talked about as a receiver, and as a running back, a really good returner. They had a punt blocked for a touchdown against Rutgers. Let's take a look at the kick return first. Again, with their special teams, they giveth and they taketh away. Here you get a great play in this game. Lucas comes up and he makes a great cut. You see right there in a very small space, he's able to make that cut and accelerate through the cut. So if you're Penn State, you want to try and kick this ball out of the end zone if you can do it, because you don't want this guy to get his hands on the ball if you can avoid it. And you see a great shot of it right there. Now, let's talk about, there's the giveth part of it. Here's the taketh away. Here they're in a good game with Rutgers playing pretty well. Rutgers comes off the edge, blocks the kick, gets the touchdown. And again, there's an opportunity here, I think, for Penn State to block a kick, a punt, or get Hardy on a punt return. So look for special teams to be a factor in this game, as well as the other 2 phases.
Trying to get that 7th win. Good stuff. Well, the Nittany Lions will be hungry to get back in the win column. Andrew alluded to the fans' frustration earlier in the show. Also told us about the dedicated guy who travels from Brazil, Greg Ashman, to make it to kickoff in Columbus. Gotta love Greg's passion and commitment.
About 14 hours ago, I departed Brazil. Came in for this game because it's the game of the year, at least for now. Hopefully the Michigan game is the game of the year after this, but let's go State. I just love the experiences of going to, especially visiting stadiums, seeing the different pageantry and different traditions. And I've made it to every Big Ten stadium up until now, other than the shoe. So I'm looking forward to being there.
Greg met family members in Ohio for the game, and we also caught up to a group from Lancaster County that rented the presidential suite in the Sheraton downtown to pregame. Fun for all, except for the final result. Up next, our Impact interview. He's about to lead the blue and white basketball program for his first season in Happy Valley. We'll catch up with Coach Mike Rhoades and find out some of his favorite Nittany Lions football moments growing up in the Keystone State. And make sure to keep the pride going. Some throwback pride picks coming, and they're all over our website, NittanyGameWeek.com. Some pictures from the horseshoe as well. We'll have more coming up later in the show. You're watching Nittany Game Week.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Our Impact interview this week is new men's head basketball coach Mike Rhoades for Penn State, a national championship player, a 2-time All-American, and the 1995 Division III National Player of the Year. Take a look. Here is the Rhoades to Happy Valley. 19 years head coaching experience, 373 wins, multiple NCAA tournament appearances, and 10 20-win seasons. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time.
Oh, you bet. Thanks for having me.
All right, so look, let's go right into it, and we'll talk about you being a PA native, right? And that Penn State connection. Your dad, a state senator for many, many years. So as this process got started and things started heading in the direction of you being the head coach for the Nittany Lions, what were those emotions like? And how'd you feel about the job initially? And then you sign, and here you are. So there's got to be a lot of stuff headed into that process, Coach, and now you're about set to start the first season.
Without a doubt. I mean, when the process started, I had no intention of leaving VCU. We loved it in Richmond. VCU is a great place to be a basketball coach, great support, awesome fans. We had a heck of a team returning. And my wife's from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Of course, I'm from Schuylkill County and very familiar with Penn State. I've been saying it for a while now since I've been here. I know a lot more about Penn State basketball than a lot of people. Before I took the job, now I know a little bit even more, right? And the conversations with the president and the athletic director and just spending time with Pat Kraft and his vision, and man, I want to work for that guy. And then the opportunity at a place like Penn State on the biggest stage in college basketball and college athletics, sitting down with Pat and his team and talking to the president and feeling their alignment, I was like, man, this might be too good to be true that I can go back to my home state where my wife and I are from. Brother and sister went to Penn State. I made many road trips up here. It's a fun place to be. It's a great place to be a student.
Mike, in the 1960s, as Penn State was kind of building up a national presence in football, they made a concerted effort to play national games and get exposure in important media markets. Right out of the gate, you look at your schedule this year, you're playing Georgia Tech in Madison Square Garden, Michigan at the Palestra in Philly, Texas A&M in Florida, and for us older fans, you're playing in Rec Hall, which to me is the greatest thing in the world. How important is it to create those kinds of events and be aggressive in putting the program out there?
Well, I said it, Jay, from the start, bold, different, and aggressive, and not being cocky at all or having all the answers, but let's think outside the box in the way we do everything. And I think change without losing your identity, but having change on different aspects, scheduling, how we go about our facilities, our out of conference schedule. I went to a game when I was a kid in Rec Hall. My dad brought me up here. I just remember how packed and hot it was, and seeing all these pictures since I've been here of volleyball in there and wrestling in there, and what a cool old school vibe, playing at some awesome venues. Think about this. A kid from Pennsylvania, from Monty City, Pennsylvania, in his first year as the head basketball coach at Penn State, is going to get to coach in the Palestra and Madison Square Garden. Pretty cool.
Coach, I'll just throw out Martz Hall as a possible venue for the future. I know there's a couple Schuylkill County people that would like to see that. Kudos on the Schuylkill County Day, by the way. 2 thumbs up on that. You mentioned the family connections to Penn State, and I know you have a lot of friends that are diehard Penn State fans. Can you take us down memory lane and all to some crazy stories that have happened at Penn State around possible football weekends?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. One of my favorite all-time stories, and you'll get a kick out of this, but my Little League baseball coach brought me up here for a blue and white game. And I was 11 years old, I think. I wasn't 12 yet. I was 11. Came up here with 2 of our teammates and Skipper Delinsky. Skip is one of my favorite coaches of all time. And we came up for a blue and white game, walked to town, hung out. I'll never forget, he had breaded pork chops for everybody. He put them on the dash, Jay. He put them on the dash. We came back at halftime of the game and came out, and they were cooking. And I say that because you just have those awesome memories, but I have some road trips when I was in college coming up here to see friends. This crazy ride I've had coaching college basketball since I graduated from Lebanon Valley. There's been so many people from Schuylkill County who have followed me, have driven the crazy places to see my teams play. And now I have an opportunity, we're only 2 hours away, to include all of them. So we wanted to do something like that where, hey, let's talk about home. There's so many awesome parts of Pennsylvania and so many great counties out there. We're going to celebrate December 2nd, Schuylkill County, by how hard we play against Bucknell and the way we do things.
A lot of Penn State fans are going to be curious about your style. So what can they expect from a Coach Rhoades team for the Nittany Lions, not just this year, but in the future, building for the long term?
There's a certain way we'll do it each year. We got to play to win. We got to play to to beat the best teams in the Big Ten. But one thing I know for sure, the success we're going to have is because we're going to play fast and be really aggressive. We can't play on our heels. We can't play slow and methodical and just try to grind one out. You could maybe get away with that here and there at times, but that's not who we are. That's not ultimately who we want to be. I just think it's exciting to play. We don't want to play quarter court offense. We want to play 94 feet and play with pace. And we'll have some tough nights. That's what happens when you take over a new program and have to bring a bunch of new guys in. But I know I like how competitively we are, and I like how aggressive we are.
Cannot wait for the upcoming hoop season for Coach Rhoades and the Nittany Lions. We're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. We will continue our interview. So if you want to see the entire conversation with new men's basketball coach Mike Rhoades, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview along with other web exclusive content. Still to come, we stick with the special teams. For the second week in a row, they keep the Buckeyes pinned down and working with a long field. Who deserves the extra recognition? Coming up, we're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are Inn, voted #1 game day restaurant in Center County. Follow us on Facebook and visit theweareinn.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
All right, Tom, we're talking about the scrap metal. We have got another special teams player.
Yeah, we're going to give it to Riley Thompson this week. He had a 44-yard average, 9 punts, but more importantly than that, on that average was the 4 inside the 20, 4 inside the 20, and 22-yard line was their average starting position on drives before they decided to go for that on that 4th down. So I thought the special teams played a heck of a game on Saturday.
Jay, everybody's got to do their job, and Riley Thompson certainly did his.
No question. We talked about they kept Ohio State on the long field the whole game.
We enjoy bringing Nittany Lions fans together. One way to do that is with our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com. We're connecting businesses that support the show with our viewers. Make sure you check out the depth chart for ideas on where to eat, travel, and shop. And we're at the midway point of our Nittany Game Week season. We have a lot to share with you each and every week. It includes much more than just our 30-minute program. Make sure to check out NittanyGameWeek.com for web-exclusive content. A lot of white in the stands at Ohio Stadium. We finished with some pride picks. A few of them are from Columbus, but they're coming in fast and furious on the website.
Yeah, and the throwbacks. People, those are that.
We continue.
Every Monday and Tuesday, I'm laughing.
The hairstyles.
Yeah.
You just got to love the hairstyles of the past. All right, for Jay, Tom, and Andrew, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.